Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Harun Nefer. This is Qesankh Keperu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about why we are all mentally sick and dangerous. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you are interested in knowing more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll below and click on one of the 4 ebook links. Download the ebook right away and start reading. Again, they're free. However, if that is just a teaser for you and you want to follow that rabbit down the rabbit hole, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You can cancel at any time, and you'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, videos that will teach you how to meditate, proper breathing exercises, how to contact the ancestors, how to invoke spirits for your protection, how to get a genie eye to excel in one discipline or another, like mathematics, basketball, biotechnology. In those areas. And also, if you are a Osira level supporter, you'll get all your Oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So, Harun Nefer, may Buddha bless you, Grand Rising. I wanted to go more into this book. Hold on. Mineb, and this is the book, which is very, very well. I shouldn't compare it to Marcus Aurelius's Stoicism, but it's kind of comparable. But this takes things to the next level, and the technique is called Mineb and Ankh Ma'at. It's how to keep your heart still to live truth. And I'm going to tell you why we need this, but I'm going to go through this book on Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon supporter, become one, because we're going to go taking a deep dive in this book. This book is already difficult to find, and I think somebody was selling it on eBay for $500, so that's a little bit crazy. But so I'll take you through this book, and if you're a Patreon supporter. It was, what was fairly interesting the other day. I was watching a documentary, and I've heard about this woman. I've heard about her for a while now, and I got a chance to watch on Amazon Prime this documentary on her, and it was sort of fascinating. I think the documentary I watched was really bad. They didn't do a good job. Even at the end of the documentary, they couldn't tell you what became of her. I think the documentary was made too soon, because we know that she was put in jail for 9.5 years. But her name is Elizabeth Holstrom, and she's a Silicon Valley tech woman who's on the cover of all the major magazines, your Fortune, everywhere, because she started a biotech firm that ended up getting about $900 million in venture investment capital. And the woman was strange. She wore all black. She idolized Steve Jobs. And this biotech company she created was based on a machine that because one of her 2 inspirations was Thomas Edison and Yoda from Star Wars. So this machine was called the Edison, and she, got a patent for it. Now, many people don't know that Edison was a thief. He stole many inventions, especially tried to put Nikola Tesla out of work, and didn't actually pay him for the work he did. And the filament that goes into the modern day light bulb, which everybody's giving Edison credit for, was created by Louis Lattimore. He's a black man, which, we don't give him enough credit for Louis Lattimore, enough credit for what he did, because it wasn't for that filament. Thomas Edison would never have achieved that light bulb. And he was known for taking credit. And he had like 1,000 patents or something like that. Because he was just stealing things and racing to the patent office. But her biotech firm was all smoke and mirrors. And I'm going to just explain a little bit about what she was trying to do, because it's a little in depth. But when you go in and you get a blood test, they have to draw a lot of blood from you, right? And that a lot of people have apprehension about that. But she created something like a nanopod or whatever, something similar like this, but it's very, very smaller than this. It's actually about a little bigger than a pill, a little bigger than this pill, where it would hold a drop of blood. And based on that drop of blood that's taken from you, they could do like over 200 blood tests to see if you had HIV, diabetes, cancer, I guess, all of these things, over 200. So this was revolutionary, because there's only two main, well, there's actually three, but two big blood test companies, and they require a lot of blood to do specific tests, because the doctor is not going to order everything. They're going to only order specific things because the doctors were looking for something. Well, with Holloman's nano pod, or whatever she called it, that one drop could do all of the tests. So this would essentially put the two big blood testing companies out of business. And you'll see them, when you go to your doctor, they'll probably send you to these companies to get your blood drawn. Okay. One is Quest Diagnostics. I don't know what the other one is offhand. But there's three main ones. There's two of the big ones that really dominate the market. Now, the secret was she set up offices in Silicon Valley, and our company was called Theranos, and kind of like Thanos, right? And the media was just all over her, putting on the cover of magazines, doing interviews with her and everything. Meanwhile, it turns out that the Edison didn't actually work. It never worked. It was just a concept in the air that she thought of. Now, everyone she hired at her facility was trying to make it work, but there was just no way it could work. They ended up using the testing methods by the big two blood test companies, Quest Diagnostics, because when they would get blood in, they wouldn't use their Edison machine. They would use the Quest Diagnostic machines. But the deal was she was defrauding her investors and lying to these magazines, these television stations and everything. She was lying. And she got into a romantic relationship with her partner, who was this Indian guy who was a multimillionaire who started his own startup company. And he was like her pit bull. He would attack people if they questioned this. Many of the employees, after a while, started questioning if this thing could actually work, because blood was spilling everywhere. The machines didn't work properly. But all the while, she is on the media circuit and actually trying to get contracts with companies like Walgreens to set up little health clinics where you can get your blood drawn and get testing done for a very low price. Well, anyway, the Wall Street Journal blew the whistle, talking about how the machines don't really work. The employees were blowing the whistle. And eventually, it all came crashing down to where lawsuits. She got hit with all of these lawsuits and finally had to go on TV and admit, which she still lied, saying that Yes, it didn't work. There were discrepancies, and she didn't know this. Yeah, this information was kept from her. How can you be CEO and founder of a company and you not know this? But anyway, her investors ended up not suing her, and she got 9.5 years jail sentence in a very, very posh, I think, federal prison. In other words, tennis courts, nice, comfortable beds, three-course meals. And I sat down and reflected on that this woman caused a lot of damage. People gave blood, and her company gave back incorrect results. Their lives could have been threatened. People could have died over this. And all they gave her was 9.5 weeks of luxury federal prison time, one of the best federal prisons you can go to. Don't have to worry about dropping the soap. And the reason why is because this society rewards cunningness, duplicitous behavior, all the things that are not morally right. Everybody looked up to this woman. And when all was said and done, even one of the individuals that was working for her quit and committed suicide over this situation. So what I'm saying that is we're living in a world that is left brain dominated. And what is the left brain if it's not controlled and used properly? It is cunningness, duplicitous behavior, manipulation, controlling. And we see this in our Western society, white men's society. See, in ancient Kemet, we rewarded those who aspired to be godlike. That's why you took on the name of Osir or Ma'at, Tehuti, because you wanted to be godlike, morally upright. But in our Western society, your cunningness, your arrogance, your ability to get over on the system is rewarded. And that is unfortunate. And that is a result of being polarized in the left brain thinking, because the right brain is the seat of morality. It is where you commune with God. Now I remember not too long ago seeing a young Black girl. I think she got a grant to go to Harvard or Yale, one of the youngest Black girls or girls of color to go. And I remembered the quote that said this: "It is by no means a measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." So the little girl, and I'm not trying to take anything from her, but because she was an outlier, a unicorn, and because she learned the algorithm and was able to get into an Ivy League college, that doesn't mean that we all can do the same thing. You see, this society is not set up for you to succeed. It is not. It is set up as a Black man or a woman. The society is set up for you to fail, in fact. You're dealing with a left brain construct. And you're dealing with people who are right brain who are trying to fit into that left brain construct. It doesn't work. This is why you have the bell curve and these IQ tests that when they test people of color, we don't do too well on these tests. And then they say that we're inferior. It is not true. It is because you created the game, you wrote the rules, and now we're expected to abide by that? How about I create a right brain society and see how well you fit in? Because we know that the left brain is not good at abstract thinking. So they will have a difficult time in a right brain society, which is why this society is based on left brain concrete thinking, and we are abstract thinkers, which is why we're having so much difficulty in this society. Coupled with that, the society is not spiritually based. It's based on religion, meaning that they everything they put together in terms of so-called religion is based on reading and sermons. And that's exactly the left brain. This is why the left brain was governed by the god Sebek. And you'll notice he's a jackal with long ears because he hears information. He's a good orator. He's book learned. He loves to read books. That's a left brain attribute. So we have to look at what we're facing and up against. But coupled with that, we have not developed our prefrontal lobes. And the prefrontal lobes are where we control the mammalian and reptilian brain, which is the mammalian's emotional, you get into the reptilian brain, controlling, reptile, controlling those two primitive brains. If the frontal lobe has the ability to control them, then you get a society that is based on spirituality. But because we don't develop the frontal lobe, we focus on the left brain, we allow the mammalian and reptilian brain to go amok by feeding it, then you have a society of very sick and dangerous people. This was symbolized by the deity Set, the reptilian brain. Now, what we need to, now, here's the thing. We're trying to, another saying is you can't solve a problem using the same thinking that created the problem. So we're trying to solve the problem of this whole left brain situation this world has created using the left brain. You can't do that. That doesn't work. The right brain is holistic, and that means that it'll solve a problem without creating a new problem. The left brain will solve a problem and create 5 or 6 other problems. We see this in the pharmaceutical industry where it can give you a drug to cure something, but there's a possibility of death, heart failure, paralysis, all of these warnings, because they don't understand holistic thinking. And our societies don't look at how the brain is structured and how people think differently through those faculties. So we go to church and we hear a sermon and we read from the Bible and we think that this is a one size fits all. No, the Western man created that religion for himself because he is left brain and responds to verbal communication and responds to concrete things so he can read a book, and he needs a book. Whereas the right brain doesn't need a paradigm. It doesn't need a book. It is fluid. The right brain is abstract. So the right brain doesn't work through sermons, through verbal communication. It doesn't work that way with the right brain. It works more, in a sense, looking at abstract concepts and seeing how they come together to form a whole. The left brain tries to separate everything and label it and define it, which is where we got racism, sexism, and all the woes of the Western world. So we have Black people running around thinking they can solve our problems by creating organizations, political parties, or getting funding. You are not addressing the situation that we're facing. Because all those same problems in terms of our thinking will still be there and just put us in a deeper hole, which is why all of our means and measures have failed. You can't use their system to solve a problem that we're faced with. You understand? And we already know that there is undiagnosed mental illness in the Black community. And that's a problem that comes from slavery. But they refuse to address that because they want the Black community to fail. So they're not going to bring up the fact that there's undiagnosed mental illness, because that would also set up the stage for them to be held culpable for that. And therefore leading to what? Reparations. So they know that this mental health issue is a big thing in the Black community, and they ignore it. The psychologists ignore it because they try to make you seem like you should be on par in terms of mental health with white people. No, we think differently. It doesn't work that way. We come from an entirely different culture that built pyramids and did things like that. So the way white people think is not the same way we think. So that is one danger that we face, is hegemony, where they're trying to make us all fit into one framework. And we are not monolithic. It doesn't work that way. And Malcolm X fell into the same trap by following a religion that was based on sermons, verbal communication, and reading from a book, the Quran. It would have never saved us, because that's not how we are as a people. Let me explain this to you. If we want to solve our problems, there's two things that we need to do. And they're very simple, but yet very complex. And I'm going to give you the secret here. The first is, if you want to commune with God, if you want to be one with God, one with the universe, one with nature, that's simple. The Buddha makes it complicated. The Dalai Lama makes it complicated. But to become one with all things, there are people who've experienced this, who experience God and talk about it on a lecture circuit. All you need to do is dissolve the ego. Yes, Freud's ego, the id, the ego, the superego, and such. Dissolve the ego. The second thing we need to do is to balance the right and the left hemispheres of the brains. That will eliminate racism. Those are the two things that could save us all on this planet. And our ancestors addressed these issues, which is why Kemet, Egypt was a whole brain thinking civilization. They were left and right brain thinkers. They weren't polarized in one side. They did not try to make the world conform to their framework of thinking. Now, here's the deep part. You see, we know George Lucas is an insider. You know, he knows a lot about the Illuminati and all that. So he understands, and this is why in his movie, The Clone Wars, the Emperor issued Order 66. What is Order 66? To kill all of the Jedis. So what did the Western man do in colonization? Kill all of the shaman. From here in North America, the Native Americans in Africa, kill all of the shaman. But why did he do that? They just made some of the most fascinating archaeological finds. And these were shaman who lived back thousands of years ago, and they found these shamans' bones, and more importantly, their medicine bags. And what was in their medicine bags? They found things like bits of cocaine, LSD, ayahuasca, DMT. So going back to what I was saying about Silicon Valley has learned that if you take LSD in micro doses, it improves cognition. It makes you smarter and makes you have the ability to work longer. Our ancestors knew that. And they used these things in microdoses to heal people, to increase their cognition, intelligence level. But most of all, they used the DMT and ayahuasca to dissolve the ego. Because most people who have taken that medicine has reported a profound sense of oneness with their fellow man and oneness with the universe. So isn't it interesting that they've outlawed those things? They've outlawed those medicines? Why? Because they don't want you to feel that camaraderie, that love for your fellow man. They don't want you communing with God. And this is what these shamans did. They don't want, I was using over-the-counter herbs to do astral projection. And in one trip, I went to a world that was so profound that I didn't want to leave. And it felt so real. And when I came back, I said, I want to go there. Because it wasn't riddled with the problems we see in this world. And I began asking myself, is there a way to get there and stay there? It was the most wonderful feeling and experience I've ever had. But it didn't last long. And it made me sad. You see, along with dissolving the ego, you have the ability to travel through different dimensions and to experience different lives that you're having. And you'll get a better perspective on this world and understanding that this world is so corrupt, so sick, that we are a danger to ourselves and each other. We are not well. And I mean white people too. Because they have been indoctrinated into a mindset of godlike philosophy. I mean, they believe they're gods because they have laws and things that favor them, and you're subjugated in this system and oppressed. And they relatively do nothing to help you, and they're not going to, because they're on top. Why would they help you? This is how our people operated in antiquity. The basis of what we did was transcendental meditation, was taking medicine like DMT and ayahuasca to dissolve the ego, to feel that oneness with our fellow man. But the Western man fools our people into thinking that God is in scripture and God comes from the sermon of a pimp pastor minister who is a joke. Whereas our ancestors experienced God. We became one with God. A woman wrote a book, and I have the book. I don't recall the title offhand, but it talked about when she became paralyzed and her senses, her nervous system was disabled. And I believe it was 3 months, 6 months, I'm not really sure, but she talked about how during that time, she experienced a profound sense of oneness with all things. And she did not experience herself as a physical body, Geb, but she experienced herself as nothingness, having no body, no essence. She was just pure consciousness. And because she didn't have the experience of a body, she felt a oneness with all things. So I'm trying to tell you that there is something that is beyond these five senses we've been told. There's something beyond this physical, stupid church you go to on Sundays that's not for us. We astral project to different planetary systems. We went to different universes. We spoke to ancestors through these means of working with the medicine man. This white man doesn't know anything about spirituality, which is why he created religion. Because if he knew anything about spirituality, he would know that you cannot experience love, God, by writing it in a book of scriptures to follow. I don't care what book you're reading from, the Torah, the Quran, the Christian Bible. That's not the path to God. It's not. That's just words on a paper, and maybe it would help you to live by a doctrine, but that's all that is. You have the ability to go in and to experience God, to experience oneness. It takes some training and it takes some time, but you can do it. You can dissolve your ego and experience the love of your fellow man or woman. You can balance the right and left hemisphere of the brain and become a genius, a genii on the level of Imhotep, Einstein, Tesla. You can. Just don't follow the path that everyone else is walking in, because it's wrong. It's wrong. There's no organization. There's no political party. There's no name. I'm a intersexual feminist or, I'm non-binary. None of that is going to save you and bring you closer to God. That's only going to separate us and put erroneous names and definitions on us. This is why many white people, many good white people know that the system is broken. This is why they're going over to South America to take the medicine from accomplished shaman. This is why George Lucas talked about Order 66, how they purposely killed our shaman. Have you noticed that? That they eliminated them very quickly along with the oracle systems? We have got to find another path to our freedom and liberation. And that path is looking back to what our ancestors laid out before us. If you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. Please share this video so we can reach our 9,000 goal. We're just a few subscribers away from that, and it would be helpful if you could help to get us there. It would be appreciated. So I want to thank you for listening to this broadcast. This is Qesankh Ma'at Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, I'm in Ra.